Good morning, guys, and welcome to episode 96 of Costa Rica Real Estate and Investments with me, your host, Richard Bexon. We're getting very close to the 100th episode. Actually, I just recorded it. So as soon as we actually get to them on 100, it'll be straight out there. I think it'll be a very good one for you, where you're going to get a very clear view on the macro strategy that Costa Rica has when it comes to investment, real estate, tourism, on a global level and also on a regional level as well there. So went for a bit of a macro view there. So again, we'll be probably releasing that, I will say, in the next coming weeks. I'd probably say towards mid-July, we'll probably have that one out here. Remember, guys, quite a few of you have been reaching out to us, info@investingcostarica.com, info@investingcostarica.com. You can go to the website now as well. We're just working on improving that a little bit. And there it'll give you a lot of information. We have some free guides online there to buying land, vacation rentals, developing, building here as well. So we're going to try and get all the information out there as well. Remember, if anyone wants to chat about any project that they have going on in Costa Rica, feel free to. As I said, I have 15 minutes for everybody. That 15 minutes usually turns into 30 minutes. So I had a gentleman call me the other day that had started a project here in Costa Rica and got, I think, lost his way a little bit, I'll put it that way, and reached out to us. So I gave him some help on how he should structure and some people that he should speak to here in Costa Rica when it comes to building here in Costa Rica. I think it's really important that you have your contracts set up correctly, especially when it comes to construction. And I think it's a trust but verify country, Costa Rica is. So you can trust anyone, but verify everything here in Costa Rica. That even includes actually directions here. When you're looking for road directions, ask 3 people. If 2 people give you the same answer, it's usually the right way. So if you get 3 different answers, go to the 4th person. If at some point you get 2 of the same answers, that's usually the right one. So that's usually my measuring stick here in Costa Rica. But anyway, today we're going to be talking with Patrick Hiebert here. He's the co-founder of Eco Villages. It's a company that develops sustainable and eco-sensible communities throughout Central America. He's done stuff in Honduras, Guatemala, Nicaragua. He's actually doing one in Panama at the moment, and also here in Costa Rica, he's looking to do one as well. So they're currently developing a property, and I thought it'd be great to get on the podcast to talk a little bit more about his projects, what makes them unique, as I know quite a lot of the listeners out there are looking to invest here in Costa Rica, and also with a focus on sustainability and kind of eco-sensible, so kind of permacultural farms, and kind of small, I would say, footprints using a lot of elevation and wind, and also using the sun anyway. So all of Patrick and all of Eco Villages contact details will be in the description, but let's get straight into it. Good morning, Patrick. How are you doing?
Good. Taking a quick sip of my coffee here before we get started. Nice to see you again, Richard.
Good to see you. Is that coffee from Boquete?
It actually is coffee from Boquete. Wow. and mixed with, I ran out of Boquete coffee mixed with a little Ecuadorian coffee. So, well,
look at you. Look at you. It's good coffee. Good coffee. Boquete does some great stuff. I've actually got a friend actually whose family started some of the geisha coffee that's up there in Boquete. So
nice. That stuff is pretty amazingly valuable. I was up there the other day, and there was a pound of coffee was $1,000 for this one.
Oh my geisha. God.
So.
Wow. Well, anybody that's joining us on the podcast, Patrick has a amazing background there. He's actually on Avenida Balboa. I think they're in Panama City, right?
That's correct, yeah.
That's Panama City, Panama, not Panama City, Florida, guys, as people often get.
Exactly.
So, but Patrick, I mean, it's been a crazy few years, but I mean, in the past year, I mean, what surprised you and what trends are you seeing in your world of of development?
Well, it's definitely been crazy. I mean, obviously the whole COVID thing has really changed the game for us a lot. Whether it's people looking at sustainability, as kind of the main theme, I would say, in communities that, as Eco Villages, that's what we develop is we have our first certification system that we work with, and that's really freedom, independence, resilience, sustainability, and transparency is what the FIRST stands for, the acronym. And it's really resonated with a lot of people. I think, the freedom side, we've seen a lot of, probably a 20, 30 times increase in exodus out of other countries and influx into the Costa Rica and then various Latin American regional countries. And a lot of that was just based on the way, people felt about how their country responded to COVID. And it was just, in general, a lot freer down here in terms of, mandates and vaccine requirements and all those sorts of things. So we really have seen a huge influx into the area. And then with, people being concerned about, food on the shelves and things in grocery stores in different areas. And so the sustainability and being able to grow your own food and have your own kind of governance in your own community has just been a huge thing for the popularity of our communities as well.
Definitely. I mean, we've definitely seen that demand. And I know that, I've been speaking to a lot of people in the US and also in Canada as well. Canada seems to have had a bit of a, people don't seem to have had the freedom that they thought that they had up there, especially the unvaccinated. And I've got some people trying to get out and they can't get out. I'm
Canadian, and I can totally, I mean, I was lucky enough 15, 20 years ago to get out and get my residency down here. Canadians are actually lucky in that way. If you're American, your taxes follow your citizenship, but if you're Canadian, it's your residency, right? So you can, like me, I became a resident down here in Central America of a couple different countries, and and I gave up my residency in Canada over a decade ago. And in hindsight, that was a really good call because the Canada I grew up in doesn't seem to exist anymore. Just the whole implementing a war act on your own people and those sorts of things. It's just, it would have been unheard of in my mind. I mean, maybe I was naive. Maybe it's always been like that, but the COVID kind of pushed everything out into the open. So it's really, it's unfortunate. I love Canada. I don't want to put it down, but I don't love the politics of Canada and the divisiveness now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel like that, and hence why we're seeing this exodus. And I think that what you guys do at Eco Villages kind of serves what a lot of people are looking for. But I mean, maybe you can explain some of the other projects that you guys, that you've done, what you have kind of coming up, and what you guys are looking forward to in the future.
Yeah, we have designed communities and developed communities in Belize, Honduras, looking at Roatan as well right now. El Salvador, obviously, we were pretty excited. We designed the early stages of a Bitcoin-based community. We have a number of communities we designed in Nicaragua. Nicaragua became pretty popular recently because it was kind of one of the countries that was really free in terms of no mandates and no vaccines and any sort of thing like that. And designed some things currently looking at Argentina, vineyard communities, but really focused right now on Costa Rica and Panama. And one of the reasons I was talking to you is, we're looking for property in Costa Rica in certain different areas, and we hope to acquire something in the next month. And really excited about creating one of these communities, kind of freedom-oriented, independent, sustainable communities in Costa Rica as well.
Yeah. I mean, you guys take a project from finding the land to actually the final build of like a home on it, right?
Correct. Yeah. So we, right from soup to nuts, right? We because we have such a focus on sustainability, that plays a big part in the land that we want to find as well, right? So, we have a lot of beachfront communities, but we're doing a lot more that are a little bit more highland oriented because you get a bit of a cooler climate, more of a springtime all the time kind of climate, and that lends itself for growing your own food and being year-round sustainability. I just, a lot of people that come down to this region and think about saying sustainability don't really understand it, because if you're from, Nordic countries or Canada or something like where I grew up in a farming community in central Canada. Well, it gets down to -40 there in the winter. Well, nothing grows, right, for 6 months of the year. So your mindset is to create your sustainability for half the year and then conserve it. Whereas down here, you have a totally different kind of growing environment, growing seasons and everything. You can grow year round. You can grow just about anything. It's actually takes a lot less land down in these communities in Central America to grow your own food for sustainability than it does in a lot of those other countries. And so, it's fun because, we get to focus on different sorts of things. We'll create what are called lifestyle farms, what you and I might have thought of as hobby farms back in the day. And then there's estate homes and mid-sized homes, and we do a lot of tiny homes and condominiums. And so it's a full community with a lot of different types of homes and different neighborhoods within the community. But in total, the community is meant to be self-sustaining, and resilient to things. And so what we find is it turns out to be a lot of like-minded people too, right? So, people that are looking for that tend to be not the divisive type. Like I just really depresses me looking at North America and the political divide and, between the left and the right. I consider myself more of a libertarian and kind of not on that spectrum so much, but I just don't like the censorship and the cancel culture and all that. And so our communities kind of relieve people of that kind of stuff. So.
Well, this is definitely a great part of the world to be doing it in, because again, as I always say, people, a lot of the time here is the government doesn't get involved and nobody really cares.
Exactly. I mean, it's funny how the U.S. State Department websites or whatever threaten about what these countries are like, but when the crap hit the fan, the proof was in the pudding. Who are the freest, least involved in your life countries? The ones down here. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, as I mentioned there, you guys take it, from just I suppose the idea all the way through to the final build. I mean, what do you guys typically find is the most difficult step in that process?
Well, I think when, there's a lot of times people come down and they fall in love with a country like Costa Rica or a certain area of it. And they think, well, I'm going to buy some land and I'm going to be a developer. And it's admittedly 25 years ago or so, I started like that too. Right? And I paid a lot of tuition. I went through a school of hard knocks and learned a lot of, lessons along the way. But I mean, there's so many layers to it, right? That people don't think of. It's like, oh, I need to find a way to get water for, on these properties or concession for water or permitting for the size of lots, the minimum size of lot that you can have and those sorts of things. Those are really the headache points, I guess, for those of us that are in the development world. Finding the land is the fun part. Making, creating home designs that are spectacular and beautiful and what we call eco-sensible. We're not eco-fanatics. We really believe that eco-friendliness needs to have a financial component too. Like if you have solar panels on your home, that's great. It's good for the planet, but it's also good for your pocketbook in terms of saving a lot of money. So we try to find a balance in there with our eco concepts. But a lot of that's the fun part, right? It's the part that nobody likes is the permitting, the regulations, the restrictions and that. And fortunately, there's less down here. Like for instance, an example would be the tiny homes in North America or Europe. Your tiny homes basically have to be on wheels. They're basically an RV. Yep. But down here, we build tiny homes with out of concrete foundations. They're real, just smaller homes, right? Just efficiently designed homes. And, they'll be here 500 years from now. So it's a totally different environment. And the nice thing about countries like Costa Rica is you can do that, right? Whereas, if you're in Arizona, you can't, right? So.
Yep. Well, yeah. And I mean, look, I think that people sometimes think that they need big homes when we're down here in the tropics. And especially, I'm just going to use Costa Rica, but we spend a lot of time outside. So, you just literally spend the only time inside is sleeping. And like, that's probably about it. Cooking maybe, but even cooking is outdoors a lot of the time in some of these, it's very open plan and, you really don't need that much space.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why our tiny homes are so popular, right? You need a place to sleep, a bathroom and a place to cook. And like you said, because the weather is always nice, you're always using outdoors as part of your living space. I mean, I go watch the Super Bowl on my deck, right? I don't sit in the great room or a living room or whatever. And, I'm Canadian, so I watch a lot of hockey, but it's almost always outdoors, right? So, that just becomes part of your living space. And so why pay for that if it's just an empty, spot inside your house that never gets used? So that's definitely, and even on the tiny homes, we create 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom tiny homes. Well, nobody ever has heard of that. Like that's not but you can, because you don't need a space for a lot of other things. You're basically sleeping and then you're going outdoors and you're spending your life outdoors most of the time. So exactly. And when your climate is always like that, you can't do that in upstate New York maybe, but you can do it down here. Right? So.
Yeah. Well, Patrick, creating community, how do you try and create that community? Because, building homes is one thing, but then also having that like central, there needs to be supermarket or there needs to be something in order to get stuff. How do you guys go around like creating that like schooling and all that kind of orientated stuff?
Yeah, it really depends on the location. When we're in a more isolated location, we have to create the clinics and the schools and grocery stores and those sorts of things. But equally important is the social gathering areas, right? We have a lot of digital nomads, so a lot of our third spaces or our common areas have high-speed Wi-Fi and people sitting around and kind of working outdoors as well under maybe a palapa, grass thatch roof type of thing, and then, pools around, and it's a more of a work balance, work-life balance type of environment. But, we'll have like amphitheaters and all sorts of things like that built into the communities where, and every home, we think of it as being, part of the community too, where in North America, you drive into your garage and you walk into your house and you never see your neighbors. You may not even know who they are. And it's quite different down here because of that whole outdoor living thing. We designed the communities where you're almost somewhat forced to walk past your neighbors, say hi, while you're, walking where they're having a coffee outside on their deck or whatever. And it just becomes, there's usually kind of like the campfire spot of the town, not necessarily a fire, but maybe there's an infinity pool where people gather and have a glass of wine and watch the sunsets and things like that. So it just becomes designed more for community, and it really works well. People love it because I often get the questions like, I'm thinking of being an expat and moving down to a country like Costa Rica, but I'm worried I'm not going to have any friends. And I was like, you're going to be worried that you have too many friends.
Correct.
You're going to want a break from friends for a while. So I've never seen that be a problem, especially in the communities that we develop. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's number one. That's a big concern that people have is like, how will I be part of a community and make friends? I'm like, look, anyone that's coming down here asks exactly the same question. Like everybody is looking for their tribe, their community, and wanting to make friends. So, and you're going to find is that these certain types of communities like you guys attract a certain type of person that like-minded people.
Right.
So it's going to be very easy to create that community and make friends. And if you've got kids, sometimes people are like, well, what about my kids making friends? I'm like, that's the least of your worries. Usually it's about the adults making friends, not the kids.
Yeah, exactly. And the kids create a situation where the adults become friends too. It's like, I'm going to go over to Mary's house and, I'll walk you over there and I'll, meet the parents. And then all of a sudden you're having a barbecue together. And, it's just, to me, it's like kind of more of an era of like, I grew up in a small town in Canada and it's more like that, right? It takes a village to raise a family kind of thing. And, and it's much more like that. And I just find it a lot more wholesome, I guess. I don't know. It's like, I think the kids turn out to be better people growing up like that. Plus in these regions, right, they're going to learn things that they wouldn't learn at home. They're going to learn about different currencies, different languages, different cultures. And, all stuff that's kind of through osmosis that they don't even realize they're learning, right? So if you're going to the grocery store in a Costa Rican town, you're going to use the Costa Rican currency, right? Or at least be able to convert it. And then when you grow up and you go to Dubai or something, it's not foreign to you that there's these, other cultures in the world.
Yeah.
My own kids got to travel a lot and really became, what I think is very well-rounded people because they've seen that life isn't just necessarily like their bubble that they were living in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, it's about teaching you those life skills that sometimes, a typical school won't teach you. I wish, I always look back on my education and go, I wish someone would have taught me emotional intelligence and how to work with people and manage people, because they teach you how to do profit and loss and balance sheets and history. But like when you get out into the real world, the application of that, of working with human beings, like when you have a business, I mean, it's your greatest asset, but your greatest liability are the people that work with you, so like the management of people and how to work with them and like grow them and coach them, except like we were never taught any of that.
Exactly. Or even just the really practical, fundamental things like how to change a tire on a car.
Yep.
It's a simple thing like that, but you realize that when you're driving with some young person today, it's like, I don't know how, I got a flat tire. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. And a simple example, but one of the things that, we're teaming up with expat school that's going to be on our communities. And they've been more of an online school, especially in the last few years, obviously, but they're having brick and mortar schools inside our communities. And they're really all about that, right? It's a much more well-rounded, and especially in these communities, you're surrounded sometimes by jungles with macaw parrots and monkeys and things like that. And, what better field trip to just go outside of your school and start, exploring and learning and maybe learning how to fish. Like you want to learn how to be sustainable. Well, here's how you put a lure on a line and catch a fish, right? So there's a portion of the schooling that's put aside for that, and I think that's really important. Things that are sort of lost in generations today, I think.
I agree. Well, I mean, you guys are looking to do your first project here in Costa Rica. I mean, why Costa Rica? And, what are you guys looking for in Costa Rica?
Well, we always try to give, something for everybody. And, like I said, we're in a lot of countries in Central and beginning in South America now, and basically in the Latin American region. It's actually just coincidence that, for whatever reason, Costa Rica and Panama, which are the two communities that we're creating, designing as we speak, we're left to last. I'm not sure, honestly, I don't have a really good reason for that. I happened to end up in Nicaragua before Costa Rica, so that's where we started. But obviously, Costa Rica is probably the most popular Latin American country for expats and tourism. It's only logical that we end up having a community there. And we were looking on both the Pacific side and the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. We'll probably have two communities, one on each side. And I think that's valuable too. If people that, do live in our communities get some perks in terms of being able to visit other communities of ours. And I love it in countries like Costa Rica and Panama, where it's very easy to live on one side or the other, but visit the other sea, right, on the other side. And to me, that's a huge benefit to the countries as well. And like I said, it's just that Costa Rica offers a lot of great things, the safety and all the different aspects of it. So, Costa Rica's been on our map for a long time. It's just, hadn't pulled the plug until now.
I think the timing is great. And again, there's a lot of people looking for community down here in Costa Rica. I think that's the number one thing that people look for, because you can build a nice home anywhere. But I think people are looking for, as I always say, their tribe, their community, somewhere where they can be themselves. And, it's the pandemic put everything in perspective, and people just realized is that, like, okay, I need freedom. I want to be self-sustainable, because you just never know what's going to happen.
Right. And like you said, with looking for community, and the other thing that we do is we blend with the surrounding community as well a lot. Like there's a lot of involvement with the locals. We actually have a foundation that's called Help Them Help Themselves. And a lot of our residents in our communities get involved in the foundation. And they meet a lot of people that way too, but they also meet a lot of locals and the kids, maybe, I think one guy the other day was teaching guitar lessons in one of the local schools. And, wow. Like that. So there's a lot of involvement in different ways. And you, like I said earlier, you'll get to the point where you're going to take a night of the week and just say, what, this night's for me. I'm busier than I was expecting to be. But it's a great lifestyle, and my wife and I have a great lifestyle by being able to visit all these communities. And so we're somewhat nomadic, but between the communities, but it's always great to go there, and we have friends in each one. Right? So
yeah, that's awesome. I mean, just to give the listeners an idea, because I'm sure that there's like, this sounds great, but like, how much does it cost? I mean, do we have like an idea of just a rough range here? I mean, maybe difficult to answer, but just like, hey, stuff's probably going to start at X.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like I said, the tiny homes I think are a great start. We also have condominiums in many communities, and they're probably in the low 100s, 150 range, 100,000 US. That's probably a pretty typical starting point. Of course, it can go to any size you want. If you want a massive estate mansion and big property that you can spend millions if you want. But that I would say the typical range is somewhere in the $200,000 to $400,000 for a mid-sized home. That's very. And we really like our designs. Obviously, we have our own architectural group, and you can look on our website at ecovillages.life to see some of the different home models. And we think we do a lot of different styles. We do modern styles. Spanish colonial is quite popular, obviously, in this region. Mediterranean styles, and so it depends on whether they're in the islands or right on the beach and different things. But I think the homes are beautiful. The homes are very self-sustaining, and with gray water reuse and things like that where it makes sense. And like I said, the solar alternative energy systems to help save you money on. I prefer having zero power bill with them. So my son and I started the company, and it was based on us living on a sailboat for a long time. And in a boat, you're out in the ocean. And in this case, it was near Vancouver Island in the Pacific Ocean. And you don't have a long extension cord to your boat, right? So you have to generate your own power. You're on top of salt water, so you have to create your own potable fresh water with desalination and all those things you learn to conserve, but you also learn how to produce it. So we just wanted to apply that to land. And like I said, we're not fanatic about it, but it's always nice if you can have very low cost of living Obviously groceries in this part or growing your own food is a very low cost of living. But then if you can kind of nix your power bill and all that as well, you can get to pretty close to zero for a cost of living.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I think that's a very accessible price and a price point that a lot of people are looking for as well, because, I mean, especially here just in Costa Rica, I mean, there really is not much, the $200,000 to $400,000 mark. Everything is way up in the million, $900,000 and up, or you've got some kind of shack somewhere which is like $150,000. So it's, it's going to be nice, I think, to have that in the middle there.
Yeah, exactly. And we do want to have that, for that price point for the community. I mean, obviously there's a lot you can buy if you're looking at a $2 million budget, but there's not a lot you can buy quality at a $200,000 or $250,000 budget. And, like I said, we make, solid concrete, very well built homes that'll be there hundreds of years from now. We try to keep them as low maintenance as possible, and, beautiful landscaping on beautiful property in a beautiful setting. So it's a very unique proposal. I think, we've seen it be extremely popular, especially over the last few years.
Awesome. Well, my last question for you, Patrick, because I know that you're very busy. If you inherited $500,000 and had to invest it into a business or real estate in Costa Rica, what would you invest it in? I think I know the answer, but I'll ask you anyway.
Well, if you know the answer,
one of your homes for sure.
Well, I mean, obviously, I think, we're going to see the continued capital gains in the housing market for sure, as this, especially in this region, as people moving down in droves to it. But I think almost anything in the servicing expats moving in, whenever you get a market that's growing this fast, whether you want to have a little restaurant or yoga studio or whatever it is, if you can, even inside of our communities, we'll see like beachfront ones where they're starting surfboard or surf lessons, or almost anything that caters to the influx of expats. And expats used, as you know very well, expats used to be retirement. Almost 100% was retirement age people that were looking to come down and just live out the rest of their life in peace down in Costa Rica. Well, now it's becoming young families, right? More digital nomad families, or people. COVID taught that to millions of people, right? With that, if you were forced to live at home or work from home, you woke up one day and you realized, well, my home could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be in Detroit. It could be in a nice, community in Costa Rica. So now we're seeing tons of families moving down that have the ability to do their work from home. And so any kind of business that caters to that group, I think is going to do very well.
I agree. I mean, I constantly see these kind of ancillary services as well that are necessary when these communities are growing, but like everything from storage, dry cleaning, clothes shops. I mean, we hear it all the time on the podcast that we do, so when people are like, I always say to people, as they say, hay plata en el calle, there is money in the street, guys. You just need to figure out how to pick it up. There is always opportunity. And just ask 10 people. And if I always say, if 2 people give you the same answer, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. You hit the nail on the head. Things like, dry cleaning or whatever, that just isn't normally a thing in Latin America, necessarily in a smaller community, but then people realize, well, they need it. And it's just to me, it's a little bit like stepping back into the 60s or something, right? And going, well, what would you start if you could go back 50, 60 years in time, right? And that, you'd invent an iPhone or something probably, but, but if you were starting a business, maybe it's a gas station, who knows, right? But, there's all sorts of things that as soon as you come down, you get overwhelmed. I think the toughest part is going, well, here's 50 things that I could do, but which one am I going to pick? Right? So I can focus on it.
Definitely. Well, Patrick, thanks again for your time. For anyone that wants to contact Patrick or Eco Villages, I'll put all the contact details in the description, but thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate it, Richard. It's great talking to you again, and hope we can connect again soon.
Sounds good. Bye. Guys, hope you enjoyed that podcast there with Patrick at Eco Villages. They're looking to do something very interesting here in Costa Rica. I've just been guiding them on kind of what to do and where to do it. So just a really cool communities that these guys have all throughout Latin America. So just remember, it's ecovillages.life if you want to take a look, and you can reach Patrick actually directly there. Remember, guys, if you're looking to do anything in Costa Rica, want any help, especially building, quite a few people are looking to buy land and build here. If anybody wants some help with that, just reach out to us. I mean, that's kind of a lot of the stuff that we specialize in is that, whether it's to live in or a vacation rental, and then kind of just project managing the build as well. We're getting a lot of people contacting us about that, just because, you know, it can be very tricky building here. Again, I had a client the other day who paid 50% down on their construction, which I wouldn't suggest that you do. And then at the end, you know, basically didn't get what he wanted. So it's just structuring those types of contracts and just making sure that someone's looking after you. And that you're building something, of course, that can be resold in an area that can also, you know, that has high demand or that is increasing as well. So you can reach us, info@investingcostarica.com. That's investing Costa Rica, ING at the end, investingcostarica.com. I hope you've enjoyed that podcast, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Bye.